Hey folks, this is Nate from Fat Guy Squared. You can watch us on Twitch, fatguysquared.podbean.com, and also our podcast at the Google Play Store and iTunes. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. If you want to send us an email, you can hit us at fatguysquared@gmail.com. And without further ado, folks, here's the show.
Fat Guy Squared.
Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing? How you doing, Pat? Okay. So I've been waiting all week for this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Last Wednesday, we did a little Naton bio. Little Naton bio.
Why don't you come by Naton?
Bio, yeah.
Bio?
Bio. Bio.
Are we talking French again?
22 and a turd.
Throw me down the stairs, my head.
So we're having a little competition, you and me.
Oh, really?
We are. Because on Wednesday, when we put the podcast out about my life, we got quite a few views. Our highest yet.
Well, everybody
you
wants
gonna
to
beat
see
me?
a car crash happening in front of them, don't they?
That's just cold.
See, mine is a big fucking semi.
So,
before we go any further, I apologize to cut you off. We still have we're down to a single person watching us live in front of us, live studio audience. Let me introduce her again. Go ahead, Mother. Go. Say hi, Mother dear.
Hi, Legia.
You know that she made her debut.
So yeah, we went last week. We spent an hour listening to my horrible story, and why I became the way I am. So now all the listeners out there go, oh, shit, that explains everything.
Now I can't pick on him for riding a small bus going to school.
No, what? I did have people ask me. They're like, really? 10 years old? That's when you learned how to tie your shoes? 10?
Dude, that was the major question of the entire thing. I went, 10? Wait, hold it. What?
Oh, yeah, all right. I had Velcro. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
It was in light-ups with Velcro.
I just like to throw it out there real quick.
Yep.
Everything that I state in this particular podcast is my own personal remembrance. My mother is here strictly to reinforce or to tell me I'm full of shit.
Yes.
Everybody that's involved into my life, whether good, bad, or otherwise, I'll be talking about it. And if you don't care for it, well, go fuck yourself because this is my life. I'm not changing any names, and this is what I remember. Whether or not it's good, whether or bad, whatever the case is, this is my life. So I'm not here to bury anybody. I'm just here to talk about who I am and where I came from.
Am I good now?
Sure.
Okay. So on the way here today, Pat, I was telling you I listened to a song. Did I tell you what song? Do you remember, or did you already forget?
Everclear, Everything's Okay, or something like
Everything's Wonderful.
that. Everything's wonderful.
Okay, now if you ever heard that song, for the listeners out there, if you haven't, you should listen to it. It's a good song. It's about a kid who had not the best upbringing, to say the least, but, there was light at the end of the tunnel.
I was
kinda
more of Everclear, Daddy Gave Me a Name. That was my jam.
Okay, all right.
That was more...
But when I look at you, and what I know of you,
all right.
that's what I see. I see somebody who didn't have the best growing up and has molded not only to a good person, but a good man.
Wow,
in general.
thank you very much.
Yeah, I got to say a compliment every, 3 or 4 weeks. So with that being said, let's start off. Pat, when did you come? What's the word I'm looking for? Okay, this is going to be good. When did the second coming of Christ happen?
Wow. Okay.
When did the prodigal son arrive?
All right, let me open up with thank you. I'm glad that you all recognize that now. Thank you.
The prodigal son.
I was born in February of 1997. 1979. I'm also dyslexic. That'll come later on, I think. February of 1979, February 14th, the boot. My mom thought it was funny.
Now, just for the reference for people, not only do me and Pat have a lot in common, and granted there are some years difference, we're 1 day and some years apart.
Yep, you and my son share the same birth date.
Well,
One of my sons, not all three of them.
Well, because I was the second prodigal son.
Yeah. Well, the second one always ends up down. Anyway,
So,
all right. So let me go into that. I'm just gonna throw this in here. My story's slightly different than Nate's because my mother and my biological father, they had me, and my biological father was in my life for a few years, and we'll get into that further down the road. But a little side note that I just found out a little while ago is that my great-grandmother was a stripper. On my father's side, my biological father's side, not my mom's side. That would have been a great Thanksgiving.
Wait, grandmother
dinner,
or great-grandmother?
It's my great-grandmother.
So, let's see. So, back then, they didn't even call it strip. Was she working at a brothel?
I don't know. The name that I have here.
Oh, tell me you got a stripper
name. She went
name.
by a Fancy Fanny.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
All right. So, my father's family is from Rhode Island, Mass area.
Now I know where you got your dance moves.
Yes. His name is Robert Sharon, and I will refer to him as Shithead through the rest of this thing.
Okay.
So, there's not a lot of love lost, and if Robert would like to say something, he's more than welcome to, find me, and then we can have a discussion. But I don't think he wants to.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, you said you were born 1979?
Yes, sir. I was a 70s child.
Okay, February 14th, you said?
Yes, sir.
All right, were you a big baby?
Was I a big baby? I was 7'4".
What the fuck happened to you?
I don't know. Shithead was a mammoth of a man.
Yeah, I've heard. I heard stories of the Goliath.
Yeah, he was. I take over with the size, and frankly, the complete rage problem, but not the just straight up stupidity of being an asshole from the 70s.
So, all right. So let's go back. You were born a normal-sized child. Okay?
Yes, unlike some other people.
You inherited his build.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm proud to say that you did not inherit his demeanors.
Well, you don't know that yet.
Oh, I'm hopefully what I know of you. So we'll say, all right. You went home. Okay. Did you come right from the hospital? Do you remember where you were living at that time?
All right. What I remember, and my mom will correct me, is that when I was born, we were living in Central Falls. And back in the day, Central Falls was a huge Canadian community. Canadian, and I want to say Polish. Was it Polish? Yes. So obviously, in our neck of the woods, it's no longer that, but still a huge community of certain, Canadians and Polish. So from there, we moved one or two times. Again, I don't remember. I was told this portion. But the first place that I remember living in, we were living in the projects in Woonsocket, which is another small town out of Rhode Island. Back in the day, the projects were not what they were today. You could leave your door unlocked. You knew your neighbors.
Wow, really? Even in the projects?
Well, they weren't projects then. So you got to understand, projects have become a place for people to dwell and never leave.
Okay.
Whereas back in the early 80s, late 70s, they were more for, hey, you're going to move here because you're having hard times.
It's a temporary.
And you're going to get you back on your feet and you're going to do what you got to do. That is no longer the case, but that's what they were.
Okay, so started out Central Falls, went to Woonsocket. Now, mind you, one thing that I didn't bring up, you have a brother.
Well, I was going to get into that.
Okay, I was. Well, I'm.
Jesus Christ.
Were you as a baby, like as a young, and
as a
wee little lad, with your mother here, I'm going to ask, was his brother nurturing of him, caring of him, or was he just like, great, somebody came into the picture?
Well, my brother, and I don't want to speak for her, but the reason why my name is Patrick Todd is because when I was born, my mother...
I'm sorry, your middle name is what?
Todd.
That's
Todd.
fucking hilarious.
Right? Well, no, it gets even better. Because my mother decided at one point that she wanted to name me Todd Patrick. Just a real yuppie fuck you name, right?
Yeah.
So she went home and she told my brother my name, and then my brother was calling me Toad for I don't know how fucking long, but he's been called me Toad. So
That's amazing.
so that then became okay. We're gonna name it Patrick Todd. Now, mind you, I'm not fucking Irish, so I don't know where my mom got this ridiculous name. This name is. You could have named me Renault. I mean, that would have been nice. I mean, even Robert. You know, my brother's name's Robert, but you know, he could be Robert the 17th or whatever the fuck it is. But
Yeah, they didn't. They just. I feel like both of our families just cut the French roots, just like out of the names.
They went fuck
Patrick,
you!
Netan, Bobby.
Yeah. So my older brother, he is my older brother. He was born in '76. You guys can do the math because I don't
3
really
years,
care
just
to.
a little over, well, a little less than 3 years.
Guys, give us 2 seconds here. I just realized that my dehumidifier is on, and we're picking that up in the background here. 1 second. All right, we're back. Let's hope this worked. Sorry about that. We're in my dungeon, and we have a dehumidifier running, and it was driving me fucking nuts. I could hear it in the background. I don't know if you folks could hear it, but I could. So back to the point. Where were we?
Let's go right to your brother was calling you Toad.
Yeah, he was calling me Toad. So, and that's you know, my mom. Like I made that joke last week with you. You know, she wrapped the hat and brought it home and wafted it in front of my brother, and this way he didn't eat me. So,
Okay.
there is a few stories about my brother holding me by my neck, and you know, that kind of thing happened as we were growing up. My mom's sitting here losing her mind, but
I gotta say, the more you tell me, the more everything makes sense. Everything.
so you know, there's a lot of I'm just gonna say there's been a lot of abuse in my life.
Okay.
I don't want to go crazy into it, but just be aware that the first maybe 6 years of my life, there was just constant abuse, and it's strictly related to shithead. So, that being said, when I was born, the real first place I was living was actually at a battered woman's shelter with my mother and my older brother.
And this is due to shithead.
Absolutely. He not to get into my mom's shit. I don't like broadcasting a lot of that. That's a ode to other people in my family. He broke her jaw. He fucked her up pretty good. I mean, he Mike Tyson'd her. So
needless to say, not only have you come from a dark past, but your mother as well.
yeah, my mom. A lot of this story I feel is definitely related to an abused woman just trying to make life happen, and you know, I don't discount her. I think maybe she should have seen a counselor a lot more than she did. But that doesn't change the fact that life is life. It is what it is. So,
Sure.
and you know, as we progress through the story, you'll hear that you know, things have gotten better. Whether they've gotten really good or whatever, I don't know. You take it upon yourself to figure it out.
So, all right. So since we know from birth to about the first 6 years of your life, it was just a shit show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to get into that. 'Cause,
Okay.
you know, my brother, and you brought this up, my brother was my defender. He, for lack of a better terminology, was the dude who took all the beatings and the bullshit to stop me from getting whacked out. And I think that ultimately translated to later on in life where I have a huge, I want to be there for you. I want to make sure you're okay. Because, you know, my brother was my savior. I mean, there was one time I can remember that this is later on, and my brother was doing a fundraiser. I think it was a fundraiser through school. It might have been something with the Boy Scouts or something along those lines. But he had a big gray box of different household products, you know, like a lint thing and, and what have you. It's just all different things. You know, back in the day in the 80s, it was a big thing to have different drives.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
You know, you would get big box of hey, this is what we're doing. It was like an Avon for
I understand.
for kids with ADD. So so anyway, I remember him bringing it to my father's house. My mother and my father were separated at the time, and my father had these frequent rage moments where he would just go off and fucking destroy everything just because you know, it was a Tuesday and you know, it was raining out, that kind of thing. So very bipolar type of scenario. So anyway, my brother got in front of him because he was coming after me, because I asked for chips. I can remember it's ingrained in my head. I asked him for chips, and the guy went fucking nuts. So my brother got in front of him,
Well,
and
what kind of chips?
well,
Was it like something outrageous?
back in the day, Lay's was a thing. So,
Okay.
you know, I'm just saying.
All right, fair enough.
So, you know, I was a fat little kid, whatever the case is. But stepped me, and he took the brunt of the beating. You know, and the reason why I bring up this case that he had is because my father then took the case and fucking destroyed it, ripped it apart. And, you know, and then he just stormed out. He had a girlfriend at the time, and she was his punching bag when
your mother wasn't.
When we weren't. Well, no, my mother wasn't in the picture at this time.
Okay.
It was very much you go to your father's house for a day or two, you go back to your mom's house, that whole thing. So
Shit.
that's one of the very many stories. You know, once he put me outside because I said I wanted to go home, and he left me outside for the night. I mean, I was sitting on the front porch.
So, all right, I got to ask a couple questions because this is a different time. Period,
This is early to mid 80s. Yes,
all right,
sir.
so things were different then. Okay, there wasn't as many regulations and rules and restrictions and this, that, and the other.
You could beat your kids.
I understand that, but my question is: so at this point, your parents are separated. Okay.
At this point, no. My parents. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place, and I apologize. This first portion of my life is very much a scattered bit of memory, so I apologize to the folks. It's not as direct and to the point like Nate was. My mom got divorced. They married. My mom married my dad in '75.
Okay.
And by 1980, they were divorced.
Okay.
But they were still going through the custody thing.
Okay. So when they went and I'm assuming it came down with the courts that they had dual custody.
I don't know. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So my question is, if you have, and I know this for what you've been telling me of this shithead. Okay, I can't imagine this, but why would a man want custody of something that he doesn't want custody of? If that makes sense.
Because he has very much a, in my view, his view of the world is fuck the world, you owe me everything. So now understand, this man, my brother and I we're not his only children. He had 2 children prior to us, and then after my family went through it, he had, I want to say 5 more kids on top of it. So I'm actually, I actually have, let me see, 5. Let me do the basic math here. 5 carry the 1, W2. A lot more brothers and sisters than I'm aware of.
All right, so you, and it sounds like most of them were out of wedlock.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
Besides the bullshit I went through, I cut myself off with this guy.
And just to give some imagery,
Okay.
because to the people, they're not seeing this. You know, they're not seeing this man. You said he's a massive man. Can you give an idea of size?
I believe he was 6'7". Am I off? 6'6". At his most, I think he weighed about 275, 280, mostly just muscle.
So he was literally a brick shithouse.
He was a brick shithouse.
Okay.
And just like the king, he was big in the karate.
Yeah, and I'm not saying when I say brick shithouse, I'm not trying to give this man one
No,
inkling of a compliment.
You absolutely nailed it on the head in terms of what he looks like.
Okay.
Now I'm 6'2". I'm fat. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also got plenty of muscle.
You're a muscular guy.
You know, it is what it is, and he had this weird fucking thing about him that you know, stupid women were attracted to him.
So
As I pan over and still I stare at my mom.
so we're growing up. Okay.
Yes. All right.
We're growing
moving
up,
on there.
and
So-
please, as we're growing up, we got your brother, who is your knight in shining armor, if you will.
He was most of my youth. He was there for me. He would pick me up when nobody else was there. And you know, in relation to my mom, she was a single mom living in the projects, trying to get shit done. And you know, there was a lot of times she wasn't there. One story I can remember, and I'm just painting a picture of where we were.
Okay.
We couldn't afford anything. We were living in a house with nothing. And it was the summertime in the projects in Woonsocket, and they offered us meals. You know, underprivileged kids, they would get meals at the park. So my brother and I would go there, and the rule was you can't take food out. So what my brother and I would do we'd sneak food. We'd put it in our pants. We'd, whether it be an apple or a sandwich, whatever the case was, and we would sneak it to bring it back home so that my mom had something to eat, and we had something in the house. I'm not really quite sure. Back then, welfare and WIC and whatnot was not like it was today. They offered stuff, but it was like, was it once a month or something like that they offered it? I'm looking at you, Mother dear. Was it like once a month we got it, or every 6 months or so? So you got it like a bulk thing. So anyway, again, I'm not saying this for the poor me's. That's not what I'm looking for.
Well, I think if anything, and I'm going to get into it at the end of this.
Sure.
But if anything, for the people out there who might say, my life is shitty, or I have nothing, just understand that they're not alone, that there's other people who have either had it worse or have had it better, but have gone through shit in their own way.
So, all of this was happening from 80 to around 83, 84 area. And that's when my mom's knight in shining armor came into the picture. My mom's knight in shining armor was a 4'2" man. I'm saying that now. He is my stepfather. He's now my stepfather. Back in the day, he wasn't. He was a little biker dude. I swear to God, he's, if he stands maybe 5'5", that's a tall day.
I'm going to say this, and it's not to be disrespectful. He just looks like a garden gnome. He really does. He does. But you know what? I can tell you firsthand, I wouldn't fuck with him.
But back in the day, you gotta understand something. My father, his name is Joseph. He was a biker. For lack of a better terminology, that's all he's been for as long as I've known him. He's always been a biker. Back in the day, he had a chopper. It wasn't a Harley or anything. He had a chopper. That thing he brought
handlebars out kind of thing.
Yeah,
monkey bars.
Without a doubt. Granted, it had the little side wheel so he could get on it and it wouldn't fall off. But he had it. I remember when we met him. Now again, we're 82, 83 area. I'm starting to remember things, and I can remember him distinctly. When it got cold out, he would bring the bike into the house and keep it warm. That was the thing he would do, and I thought the man was weird. But the thing is that at that time in our lives, we had nothing, and this guy came into our lives, and he accepted us, his family. I got to say this right now, and I absolutely would not be who I am without my Meme Reno and my Pepe Reno accepting me. Even when we weren't a part of that family, they would bring us in there. They would make. I remember the first time meeting this woman. She made something called triquettes, and what that is. Triquettes, yes. What those are assholes. Well, that's what they would call them. They were little cinnamon discs, and they look like assholes. So, again, this is a very small portion of my life, the abuse and what have you. I'm in my 40. I'm 40 now. Go damn close to it. So, this little man went up to my father and he said flat out, "If you touch any of these people again, I'm going to fucking kill you." And, my father, again, 6'6", 6'7", brick shit house, scared to death of him. Fucking scared to death of him. So, all the abuse and all the headache and all of this and that and the other thing, it immediately stopped. And my father then, my real father, not my stepfather, shithead, I keep screwing this up, shithead then tried buying my brother and I off, saying he was going to get us dirt bikes and this, that, and the other thing because he wanted full custody. What he wanted to do was just remove us from our mother because that's the only way he would have any control over the situation. So ultimately, 84, 85 area is when my brother and I both said, "Go fuck yourself, get out of here."
I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, was there, because let's be honest, as kids, shiny little toys, that makes a difference. Was there any inkling of you that was considering maybe we should?
No. He was abusive from day one.
Good. I'm proud of you
for
that.
Day one. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That dude was abusive.
And you know what? I got to say, I know him as Uncle Joe, but we're going to say dad because that's what it is.
I'm going to call he's my dad. Shithead is gone.
Yeah. So
okay?
I will say for my Uncle Joe, his dad, the balls on that man. The balls on that man to go up and say that shit to that size man. Whew. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that room.
You know, and I mean, he didn't come into our lives with anything outside of a possibility.
Yeah.
And you know, I give that man all the credit in the world. You know, ups
And he
and
had
downs.
nothing to gain.
Oh, he had nothing. What he had to gain? 2 asshole kids and a crazy woman? No.
Jeez.
But that's what he did. He accepted us. He moved us into his life. We became the Renauds, and we were both adopted in 1987.
He adopted you.
He did. He adopted myself and my brother. We just, like I said, about a year or so prior to, I could be hazy on the dates, but we told Shithead to go take a flying walk, and that was it. That chapter of my life is closed.
Did you ask to be adopted, or?
It was a little bit of both, quite frankly. I mean, I can't remember the logistics, but I do remember that he adopted us, and we were either moving at the time or we were just going to Disney World. It was kind of like a big family thing. We're a combination thing. So
so I've always wondered this for people who have like stepfathers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Obviously when you do something as a kid, especially in that age, you were able to, you know, give your kid a spanking if something. How was he with you guys?
No, he never touched us. They left it to Indiana Jones over here. A good story.
That's a good man.
A
Jesus.
good story. I don't know what I did. I'm sure I did something. But my mom, and this this is a story my brother will remember. So we're living in Pawtucket. We had just moved back from Florida. We'll get into where we moved. And I had done something, and my mom said that she needed to hit me. Well, you know, okay, whatever. So me being the smart ass, I remember there being a pole fan. You know what I'm talking about? The little fan that stands on a pole and his little little legs on there. And so I'm standing there, and I just got, you know, whether it's shorts or whatever the case on, and my mom is beating the shit. She's whap with a belt. She's like dan da da right. So
no wonder you called the
right?
Indiana Jones.
Oh no, it's even better because my brother and his friend Manny go to the outside of the house because we were living on the first floor, and they're looking in the window, watching me get my ass handed to me. And my brother's going, dan da da dan da da dan da da. And my mom, this is Mrs. B. You guys want to get whipped too? And they both run. And so I mean,
this was a thing back then, though, guy. You know, people who are listening, you got to understand, it's not like today where you touch your kid's going to sue you as a parent.
No, yeah.
Okay, if you went and said, "Hey, I'm going to sue you," you're going to get beat some more back when we were kids.
No, what would happen was you'd leave the phone number on the phone, and they go ahead, call them. And like, until they get here, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you. So, so anyway, the first chapter of my life is closed. Battered mom, you know, fucked up kids. Little short dude comes into my life, saves our lives. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of things that went in our lives after the fact that kind of fucked me up a little bit as I got older, but it's nothing in comparison to the crazy amount of abuse. So here's a good example. My mom and dad got married in 84 area. 84. So by the time from 84 to 92, we moved a total of, and there was a little bit of a dispute here, but I want to say it was 17 times.
And a 3-year gap?
No, from 84 to 92.
92, okay, so an 8-year.
8-year gap, yeah.
8 years, 13 times?
No, 17 times.
So basically twice a year.
It averaged about once a year, give or take, but yeah. So we moved continuously, and it wasn't from like one area to another. It was from like one town to another town to another town. And I asked my old man last week, I said, listen, what was the reason why we moved so much? And his exact answer was, I didn't like the neighbors. And I went, I'm sorry?
That was the reason. That was the reason to get up and change school systems.
So that's, I mean, again, my brother was a little older, so in some situations he was able to stay in the same school system.
Okay.
But I was just all over the place. Until I got to middle school, I was all over the place. And even when we got into high school, they moved again, and, you know, that was the whole thing.
So I'm going to ask you some questions that you asked me last week. Okay?
Sure.
So let's say you moved around, okay? You've got shithead and the rest of that bullshit out of the way. You know, you're in middle school.
All right.
How were you as a student?
I mean, I had a lot of problems. I had I can remember going to a deaf school at one point because they thought I was going deaf or something. Am I saying that wrong? Didn't you bring me to a bunch of testing? And they were all at deaf schools. So I was there for so long that I started to learn sign language. So
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, I know how to house on fire. You know.
But like
Phone call.
grades wise, were you a smart kid or?
I mean, I didn't do. I had a lot of reading issues. You know, through most of my youth, I had a terrible stutter. I mean, I directly associate that to shithead and everything else. But I mean, terrible stutter. I was all kinds of problems. I was on Ritalin and the whole nine. They had me on a whole bunch of different things. And
So during this point in your life, I have no idea. Did you go to therapy or counseling for what happened to you as a kid, or?
I mean, through school, they had different types of counselors and stuff like that. But I don't think I ever went to. I've never, from what I can remember, I've never seen a counselor. Ever.
Okay. And how were you? Were you popular? Were you not popular?
I wasn't in any one place long enough to be anything.
Yeah, you weren't in any cliques or.
Not at all. I distinctly remember being in multiple schools in a 2-year span and not knowing anybody. So personally, as I grew up, I've always been a person that doesn't. I don't do well in groups because I don't know how to deal with people. I don't know how to talk to. I don't know if any of you realize, but my demeanor is usually just cracking somebody because that's a defense mechanism all day. I don't.
Yeah,
you know.
I see you as being, you're very funny and you use jokes as your security blanket, we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, it's either I'm joking or I'm telling you to go fuck yourself.
So all right, let's
there's
move
no
to
real
high
happy
school.
in between.
Let's move to high school. Okay.
All right. Well, from middle school to at least sophomore year in high school, I was in the same place, Cumberland, Rhode Island. That happened. I moved to Cumberland around '92, and that's the first place I was able to start making friends and start whatever the case is. And so middle school, I'm going through it, having a good time. Graduate from middle school, and I moved to high school, and I discovered something called wrestling. And wrestling saved my life. Wrestling saved my freshman year. A guy named Jamie Soulier said, "Hey, you should try wrestling." I said, "I don't know what that is." He goes, "Hey, I got a pair of shoes for you, because wrestling you need to wear a particular type of footwear." And he goes, "Yeah, dude, I think you'd be really good at it. You're a big dude, you know." And he goes, "Here, I'll just give these to you for now, and if you want them, give me $25 for them." I go, "Okay, I'll try it." So, this man right here is another saving grace. Steve Gordon, Mr. Gordon. He is the wrestling was the wrestling coach for Cumberland High School, and he was a no holds barred, going to tell you how it is. This is life, and you're going to have to stand up, and you're going to have to be the man when you need to be the man, but also own it. Own when you fuck up. Own when you do something wrong. Own it all.
Sure.
And he was. I don't want to say he was a father figure, but he was a father figure. I mean,
no, I get what you're saying. He was definitely one who gave moral support to you growing up.
He did it in a way that I responded to in a very positive way.
Sure. Did your kid, by any chance, did one of your kids have him as a coach as well or something?
No. So Mr. Gordon, after high school, has become a family friend.
Okay, that's what it was.
Because what happened was because of wrestling, freshman year, my wife, I met my future girlfriend / wife. But the first time I met her, this is a great story. We're at a tournament, and I'm sitting down, and I had just wrestled. And the way wrestling works is you have 3 2-minute periods, and you just beat the shit out of yourself because you're beating somebody who's your size, and you just beat. So, and you're sweating, and you smell, and you stink, and the whole nine. So I sit down, and there's 2 girls sitting behind me, and I'm just minding my own business sitting there, and one girl goes, "Oh, you stink. Get the hell away from me." And I go, "Who the fuck you?" So there's another dude sitting right next to me, and he just wrestled. And I'm like, "Can you please tell him to move?" And I look at him, and I go, "Tell him to shut the fuck up. I'm not moving. They don't fucking like it. Screw." And that was the first time I met my wife.
You have just a way with words.
Dude, you got to understand something, man. A 6-minute match, 9-minute match, whatever you're doing, in this particular match setup, it was 6 minutes, but it's a lifetime on the mat. I mean, especially if you're wrestling somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. And
So,
you were good.
I
from
was
what
a
I've heard.
state champion. I'm a state champion wrestler.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. Now, don't fuck with me because I'll put you in wrestling moves.
Yeah, you little pretzel, you. So that's awesome.
And that's why the wife's with me.
All right, so now, I mean, you're kind of a big deal if you're in high school and you're like the wrestling state champ.
Not really. I mean, I don't view myself in that view. Again, I mean, I'm hanging out with people. I'm having a good time. You know, again, I'm not with my wife at the time. I'm just roaming around doing my own thing. I mean,
Was your brother still at home with you?
my brother had graduated or just about to graduate. And he was on his way to do his own thing. He went to a different high school because, you know, he went to Davies. Davies Voc Tech is
A vocational
a
school.
centralized Voc Tech school where you didn't have to live in a particular town. They would ship you there. So
Yeah, we had Bristol Aggie, which is the
Exactly.
same thing. It's just a school that's designed more for a trade school, if you will.
And what's funny is my youngest son's going there now, and there's actually a teacher there that knows my brother. He taught him, which I thought was weird
That's
because
old
my
as
brother's
dirt.
been out of school for like 26 years now or something like that. So,
Wow,
like, holy shit, that dude must be ancient. So,
that's crazy.
so my freshman year, I'm doing everything that somebody in the mid 90s would do. I'm doing a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, a lot of whatever you would do to
Relieve stress.
alleviate the pain of the day and relieve stress. So I've done every kind of drug you can think, and I don't want to dwell on it. But hey, when you're growing up, the only way to find out if you really like something is do it once, twice, 700 times, and then see if you really like it.
Sure.
But come to find out, I didn't like any drugs. I'm a straight edge guy right now. I can't stand not being in control of myself.
Yeah, that was one thing that you and me agreed on. We that's not our cup of tea.
No, I mean, I'll drink occasionally, but I won't do anything but. And anyway, so fast forward in sophomore year,
Okay.
my wife, who was not part of my life at the time, we got together because of me burning a potato chip in health class. I got bored in health class.
All I'm hearing is that you have a problem in life with chips. You got your ass
it's
beat
true.
when you were a kid for asking for chips. Now you're lighting chips on fire. What the hell?
So this is what happened. I was bored, and
No.
the health class is super boring. We're all in a giant auditorium type of area, and so I'm sitting down and I'm fucking around, and I had one of those, those crazy jet lighters that you used to have back.
Oh
in
my
the
God,
day?
the crack torches.
Yes, I had one of those, and I had my lunch, and I was just fucking around, and I set a chip on fire. I didn't realize that the chip. Now I
It's the
understand.
oil.
I understand it's going to sound terrible, but the fucking chip went up. Like
Yeah.
it went whoosh. And I went,
Yeah, it's all that grease and oil.
I didn't even, in my mind, I didn't even contemplate. It didn't register.
Okay.
So the teacher, I'll give him a shout out because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be together. Geiselman said,
I can't
"Hey,
believe you remember these things. This is ridiculous.
well, I mean, this is an important story in my life." So
yeah, no, I just don't remember shit. Of
So this asshole goes, "Oh, sit over here next to Lynn. She'll know. She'll keep you in line." I go, "Okay." So, me being me, the aggressive type of person, I then go sit next to my future wife, and I steal her backpack and start going through her shit. And
Now, did you find her attractive right off the bat, or
I mean, for a younger lad looking at a younger lass, I find everything attractive at that time in my life. Oh, really? It's windy. Ah!
Yeah.
No, so, what I did was I found a what are these things called? A notebook.
oh my God, folks, he had to literally pick it up and look at it for a moment. This is terrible.
I found a notebook and I put my personal phone number in the thing. I said, "Listen, when you're bored one day and you want to talk, give me a call." And that was the extent of it. Fast forward like a week later. Now I'm working at Burger King in South Attleboro. We're living in Southern Cumberland. So I'm getting ready to go to work, and I get a phone call, and it's my wife's friend Tracy. She gets on the phone and she goes, "Hi, Pat." And I go, "Who the fuck is this?" She goes, "It's Tracy." I'm like, "Who?" "Lynn's friend. You know Lynn?" And I go, Lynn Plord. "Oh, yeah, Lynn, what's going on?" "Hey, yeah. Oh, she wants to go out with you. And this is what you did in the 90s, by the way. You always had somebody else ask you out.
Nobody had balls.
Nobody did. I went, yeah, I don't give a fuck, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that was it. We started going out. That was,
Dude, I'm so proud of you right now
why is that?
because I never had that.
Really?
I've never, ever, ever. I always had to make the first move. No girl ever like called me and was like, "Hey, oh my God, are you Nate? Oh my God, can we go out?"
Well, through my youth, I was always the guy to approach all the girls because, again, I have zero ability to sit back and let people do all that stuff. It's just in this particular instance, she approached me, and yeah, I went out. What the hell?
I think a lot of that has to do with you had nothing to lose.
Oh, what the fuck? What, are you going to say no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on to the next one.
So I went, sure, why not? So like a week later, we end up going out, and this is now October 1st.
Okay.
October 1st of, what are we, 22 years now? So you guys do the math. I think it's 97,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
96 area?
I was 10.
Fuck you. Oh, I'm sorry, 95. October 1st of 95.
What is that? I was 8.
Hey, for those of you wondering what I'm doing here, I actually have a page in my notebook dedicated to the different dates of things that were going on in my life. So,
Okay.
so I started going out with my wife, and everything was good and all. And about a year later, half a year later, my parents decided to move again. So, obviously, I'm not doing well with a lot of things, and my dad again. I don't want to be here. Gotta go. So they ended up in Pawtucket. Now, this is my sophomore into junior year. And the way that this particular school system works is, if you're not a senior, you have to go to the other school system. So I would end up having to go to a Pawtucket school system.
So what you're
instead
saying? So I just want to make sure. So if you were a senior, they would let you kind of finish your time out there.
Yeah,
Because
yep.
you've already completed 3 plus.
Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So my sophomore into junior year, and this is another reason why Mr. Gordon is a godsend, because he found out that and he's a teacher for the school. He found out that I wasn't living in Cumberland, and he pulled me to the side. He goes, I heard a rumor, and he goes, I don't want to know if it's true or not. I just want to tell you that if we find out that you no longer live in Cumberland, you're going to have to go to another school system, and there'll be this, that, and the other things. And so just so we're all aware, you're not going to another school system, and you live in Cumberland. You know, he did it kind of like a...
That's cool. Very cool.
So I went, how did you find out that, there's a story about that? He goes, I know. I just know. I was like, not a problem. And what happened was that my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, what she would do is she would make me my lunch. So I would have gas money to get back and forth from my house to school because I didn't have the money. I was working, but it wasn't a lot of money.
What were you doing, by the way? What were you working?
I was the fast food king. If it wasn't McDonald's, it was Burger King. If it wasn't Burger King,
Dude, high five. Me too.
right?
McDonald's, baby.
So I was fast tracking it at McDonald's to become an assistant manager, but I wasn't old enough. So
girlfriend
anyway,
is making you food. You're spending the money on gas to get back and forth just so you could stay at the school with her.
yeah, and then when every good thing happens, bad things happen. So my mother and I, actually my entire family and I am the black sheep. I feel that I'm the black sheep of my family. And across the board, the black sheep. I'm never the guy people look at and go, oh, wow, he's the guy who didn't make it into prison. So that being said, my mother and I had a falling out. And when I was, there's a little debate on this too, but I believe I was 16. My wife tends to believe I was 17. But I said, fuck y'all, I'm out. And I moved out of my mom's house. And again, back to the savior, my brother took me in. And I lived with my brother from the time I was, whatever that age was, 16 or 17, till the time I graduated high school. And
I'm going to ask you at the end,
Sure.
just give you a heads up, I'm going to ask you some more questions about your brother.
No, I dude, anything I can give you. So I graduated in 98. And the day we graduated, we found out a big surprise. It was a massive surprise for us. we found out that my wife was pregnant.
So apparently, what I'm gathering is you used your wrestling moves on her.
She used to. Well, she used to be a cheerleader too. So you call it what you will. Oh yeah, man, that did it for me. I don't know why.
So all right, so you're Joseph, right?
Joseph was yeah. So at the time, I was going through schooling to be in construction.
But at this time, you were what, 17 or 18 years?
Oh no, I was 19 when I graduated.
No, I'm sorry. When she got pregnant.
We graduated 90. So I was 18 or 19.
Okay. 18. We'll say 18 years old. 18 years old. Let's think about this for a second. I can tell you right now, firsthand, that there would be there's a lot of people out there who, at 18 years old, be taking just a quick little visit to family planning.
Let me tell you, that did happen. And my son to this day will defend. Oh, excuse me, I burped. That's terrible. Sorry about that. So we took a ride, and we were both talking about an abortion. And my wife was all for it. Well, she said she was all for it at first, and then as we got there, and she's like, I can't do it. And I have lived my life going from place to place to place, just hating who I was, and she gave me the option right at that point, right there, right then and there. Listen, I'm not getting rid of this kid. I'm keeping him. You do not have to be a part of his life. You do not have to be here. You will never be asked for money. You will never be asked for anything. But don't ever make any attempt to make contact with him until he's 18. And I said to her very flat, I was like, you and I might not make it, but I'm going to be a part of my son's life. And
Wow.
And that right then and there, and we've told my son this story, and there are people out there that berate and batter these people that try to make this decision. And I'll be the first to tell you, for those people who have to make the hardest decision in the world, for all of you assholes out there that are trying to talk them out of doing it, you can go get face fucked by a cow. I'm telling you right now, it is the hardest decision in the world. Some people can't afford it. Some people cannot live in that world where, you got to understand, it's not just losing a child, but in some cases, you're losing your actual family because of it. The one thing that you depend on, you're losing it. And I refuse to, I'm sorry, this will be another story, another day. But the point is that we went down there, and we had the discussion, and my wife and I decided to give it a go.
And thanks to that choice, you have started, with your first blessing, we'll say.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time we thought it was a nightmare, but but it's only because we were both trying to figure life out. I mean, let's face it. She just graduated high school. We just graduated. I did as well. I had a scholarship for architectural design. It would have taken too long to go through. She wanted to be a nurse. So doing the adult thing, I said, you go, and I'll support you. So I was building houses. I was building post and beam houses, and wasn't making any money in that. So I approached a guy who got me the job doing what I'm doing today, and he got me an interview, and I've been there for going on 20 years now. I'm not saying the name because anytime I place the name of the job that I work into here, then they can look at what I do and fuck them. They don't need to know. For the people that do know me, you know the job I do, and just leave it at that. So I've been doing this job for 20 years, and my wife and I didn't get married right away, and that's another thing people frown upon. Having a child out of wedlock, there's a lot of people, even in my family, that are just, go fuck yourself. Who the fuck are you, you asshole? And so
and that I do know firsthand, and it's a stupid situation. Anybody out there who has a problem with it, screw you.
Yeah, people got to work their way through some stuff, and for you to be that type of person, you can just go get face fucked.
So now you had Joseph at 19 years old at this point. You are trying your best to raise any kind of money you can working so that you can support your girlfriend at this point still,
yep.
As going to get her nursing degree.
She did, and then we got married around the 2000 area.
So you got married in 2000. When did you have your second child?
Had our second kid in 2001. You know, that was my wife likes to joke that was our
Wedding gift?
our wedding gift. Yeah.
So where did your final kid come in? What gift was that?
My brother-in-law paid for us to go away for a few days, and lo and behold, we had our second son. So yeah, thank you.
And then you had one more.
And then 2004, we decided for a third, and then after that, I was like, this is the baseball rule. I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
out.
you snipping it off. That's it.
I snipped it off. I tore it in a knot. I had her kick me in the nuts a few times. That's what I do.
So this brings you up to present.
No.
No?
So,
Okay.
we had. I moved in with my wife when we found out she was pregnant, and then we moved a few more times, 3 or 4 separate times till we got to the present property that we're at. So, my father-in-law, that man has saved my life time and again, and I have the only accolades to speak about him because he's, again, another gentleman. There's a few gentlemen in my life that have showed me how to be the person I want to be. So
You're welcome.
yeah, there you go. So I haven't spoken about him because he doesn't like to be put out here. But Mark, I got to tell you, man, you gave me some of the best advice I've ever had in my life.
I don't even know the name of the person, but I'm assuming this is Lynn's.
This is her father. His advice is very simply, hey, do you want your kids to do to you what you do to other people? That's it. That's all it was. And I went, son of a bitch. So now, mind you, I had a falling out with my mother, as I already discussed. And through the years, it's, on and off kind of thing. But what are you going to do? Now, my mother has had falling outs with her own family, and same exact thing. It happens. Everybody has those moments. But I have found that through the years, if I take the time to utilize that information he gave me over and over again, it's easier to deal with people. And, I feel that my kids forever, my kids are my life. And my kids forever getting complimented on who they are and what they do.
Oh my God.
And
That's an absolute understatement. I have friends that have kids. I have people I work with that have kids. Your kids are a special breed.
why are you calling my kids special, you asshole?
There's a level of respect that those kids give that I can tell you firsthand, working with the public, a lot of people nowadays don't have.
Well, the reason why my kids are that way is because my wife and I were, from the get-go, we didn't want them to be like me. I mean, I don't want them to be like me. My wife goes, I know, I don't either. So, again, my father-in-law, watching how he raised his kids, he was a stern man, but he was fair. Nothing against my mother or my father or anything. I didn't really have that in my life. It was do what I do and don't ask. And when I look at that other lifestyle, I went, oh shit, there's something else. It's a different way of doing things. So, I mean, that to me is the best advice I can give anybody. If you don't want your kids to be like you, if you don't want your kids to disown you, to not talk to you, to not be in your life, don't do it to other people. If you don't want your kids to be gossipers, don't fucking gossip about people. I mean, it's really that easy.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, and I know we talked about it on Wednesday, but our parents' upbringings, okay, my father, your mother's upbringing,
Mother.
was a very hard knocks.
Oh, very
Okay,
much.
not a loving. I don't want to say not a loving because they care for them, but they not overly loving, not emotional, not enough to show hugs and kisses and love yous and all that before you go to bed every night. That just wasn't the way they were brought up.
No, they were brought up with: do you have clothes? Do you have a roof? Do you have food? What
I
the
did
fuck
my
is
job.
your problem?
Yeah, like I did my job. I gave you that stuff.
Exactly.
Make do. Now I'm not saying that they're bad people by it. I'm saying it's a different lifestyle. It's a different upbringing. It was a different time.
No, you're right. And the problem with that scenario is that you don't ever put yourself out there because of all that. So I'll tell my mom right now, Mom, you need to put yourself out there more, whether you want to or not. It's just, if you want the love of everybody, like I'm going to do this for myself too. If I want my kids to love me, then I'm going to raise them the way I want them raised, and then it'll be on them to love me. It's not, there's no hitting agenda there. You know what I mean? Am I saying something wrong here? Am I out of place?
No,
here?
I understand what you're saying. If I've learned anything about you, Pat, is that one, don't make a joke. I could see it. You were getting ready to make a joke, you little shit.
How dare you?
Okay, you, Pat, you are the most caring asshole I've ever met. That's the only way to describe it. You're blunt. You're overly blunt. And sometimes that bluntness comes wrong, but your intentions are perfect every single time.
You're fat.
I love you too. I love you too. Now I know we're getting close to that time frame, and there was a couple questions I still had for you.
We can go a little long if you want to. That's fine.
One, your brother. You said your brother a few times has been there for you time and time again growing up. I'm sure you and your brother have had problems.
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay. And I know you've talked to me about it, and you say you might not, you might talk to your brother, maybe 3-4 times, okay, over the past few years. If your brother called you up right now and said he needed you,
I wouldn't even deny that. I'd be on the road and gone
because of everything.
It's just, I didn't say my brother was one of those men in my life that saved my life, but not to get overly fucking flamboyant about it, but he was. He showed me how to survive, and whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, it's that's what happened. He's always been that guy in my life that I try to impress, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if I have. I don't know if even what I do matters at this point, but he will always have a safe place in my heart. Whether or not we're happy with each other or speak with each other, he is, for lack of a better terminology, my knight in shining armor when I needed it most.
Damn.
So, you can call that what you will. I don't mean to get all...
No, it's true. It's true. So, now my last thing that I want to ask, do you have any advice for kids that are either abused growing up or just in a shitty place, something that they don't have control over?
It's real. I could say it's real simple. I was about to, but that's a shitty way of opening this. It's for me. I'll be completely honest with you. I was completely dead inside until I met my wife, and I had zero cares about anything. I didn't give a shit about anybody. Everything in my life was go fuck yourself, leave me alone. I was guarding myself across the board. And she was the first one to ever challenge me in that venue. And she stuck with me, and she was very much the person to tell me to go fuck myself when I needed it. Now, that's not me telling everybody to go find somebody to tell you to go fuck yourself, because, obviously that doesn't work for everybody. But what I would tell you is guard yourself. Guard everything you can, but realize it's not a life. That's not the way you should live your life, the entirety of it. It's just not a life. Find the time to find something that you love for yourself. I don't care if it's walking down the street, if it's taking pictures or painting something, or just writing in a book. Find something for you. Build off of that. The only positive advice I could say about my entire life is that I built off of it. I didn't let it drag me down. I didn't let it keep me where I was. Because if I did, I'd be the same cocksucker that was my father.
Shithead.
He's shithead, whatever you want to call him. So, the best advice, and for my kids, the best advice, be who you need to be to survive. You're never going to be the best. You just be who you need to be. Do not look back and feel sorry about anything, because it wasn't your fault. You're not the one who caused all this stuff to happen. But when you get old enough and you realize that, fuck this, they're not going to hurt me anymore, then start learning how to live your life the way you want it to be lived.
Okay. And right before we sign, I'm going to say my piece to you.
Sure.
All right, and you're going to play a little game of shut the fuck up. so that you don't cut me off, because I know who you are and I know what you're gonna say, and so
Just give me 2 more seconds,
Sure.
and then I'll let you do it.
sure.
For any women that are abused out there, this is a very strong point for me. Please, please. I know it's hard, and I know you don't want to upset your lifestyle, but get out of it. Do what you can. Go see it. Go to the doctors. I mean, just seeing a doctor and telling them what's going on, they will get you out of there. They will put you in a better place. I know it's a man telling a woman who's being abused, but I'm telling you, do what you can to get out of that lifestyle. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to be the worst fucking thing in the world for you to do. But I promise you, over time, it will get better. And you'll find that person that you deserve. Don't sit there and be abused. I don't give a fuck if it's your mom. I don't give a fuck if it's your dad, your husband, your boyfriend. Whatever the case is, get out of that lifestyle. Make a life that's for you, that's better, that's easier to deal with. I'm sorry I'm going on.
No,
but
it's true. What you're saying is absolutely true, because no matter what, at the end of the day, no matter the circumstances that got you in that situation, you don't deserve it.
No, you don't.
Period.
And I don't care if it's a drug-related thing, if it's just you trying to find that bad boy. You don't deserve to be in a relationship where you get treated less than who you are. So that's the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to let Nate clear it out. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dwell, but thank you folks for listening to me. No, Nate.
So, with what I wanted to say quickly was, I've had you in my life on and off for realistically 20 years. I'd say I wouldn't say 31 years of my life, because it's not the case. And
No.
And you know what's kind of funny, and I wanted to say this earlier, is for anybody who remembers Pat between the ages of, we'll say, 6 and 10, if you look at a picture of me between 6 and 10, we are absolutely identical. We've always been that way.
Except I had plaid pants on and dressed like a 70s porn star. Thanks, Mom.
With that being said, you know, we come from different ages. As you can clearly see with listening to mine to listen to him, we come from different backgrounds. Okay. With that said, you being brought up the way you are, I'm proud to say I know you. You are a different person. You are an amazing man. You've been there for me the past couple months, and good for you, man.
Uh-huh.
You dick. You're such a dick. So, with that being the state, I think it's time for us to sign off. It's been an hour.
Yeah, it's been just over an hour. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to throw all that bullshit on there about where you can meet us. But I am going to close this out again with my mother, because she will not be joining us again anytime soon, I don't think. Though she's welcome. I'm putting it out there. If you don't mind, Nate, I'm going to let her close it out this time.
Not a problem.
Mom, do you have anything in closing? Because my mother is the one that was abused. And I'm just throwing this out there. But do you have anything in closing for any of those women that just don't know what to do? Not from a man's standpoint, but from a woman's standpoint. Let me throw this to you, and let us know, and then you can just say goodbye. That's all.
If you're being abused by anyone at all, get out. There is hope out there. You have to be strong. It's inside of you. Be strong, get out, because that might be the only way you're going to live to talk about it. Otherwise, you may not be lucky, and your family will be without you. So on that note, thank you, and
Fat Guy Squared signing off.
Fat Guy Squares signing off.
There you go.
All right, take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.